I like it, Earl.
Yeah, baby.
I like the other one, but Facebook say I'm using Earth, Wind, and Fire music. I don't want
Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, we'll talk about it. Welcome everyone to our second year of Real Talk Sports. I want to thank David Burnett and Kevin Edmondson, the original creators, along with myself, for coming back for year 2. And we'd like to thank Bobby Kinzer, Charles Jackson, and Charles Snowden for coming on to the show in the latter part of the year and being a part of our show. We have a lot of things that different things, and we're going to keep it fresh this year. And I'm glad everyone is back. Well, we have a lot to talk about, and we don't have a lot of time. And these shows are no longer going to go on past an hour. I have to monitor the time. So I think we need to get straight to the point. For those of you guys who are new to the show, welcome. As I said, David, Kevin, and I created this actually a year and a month ago. So we're on show 53, and we're excited. Enough about me, David and Kevin. Let's get to the show. Gentlemen, how is everyone? Bobby Kinzer, how are you?
I'm happy than an Afghan camel on roller skates.
Okay. Chuck Snowden, how are you doing, Chuck?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Mr. Rush, sir.
Charles Jackson, you Nick Lover, how are you today?
I'm glad to be back. I miss you guys.
Okay. And we have David Burnett from Sports Capital of the World,
Sports Capital of the World, and also the College Football National Championship game in Indianapolis, Indiana, in January 2022.
And we're
look, if we got it, we got it.
Okay, you got it, David. You got it, David.
Christ was born.
And let's go down to the dirty South, my man, 50 grand. Kevin Edmondson, what's going on, Kevin?
I'm doing okay. At least I was until Bobby opens. But after that,
okay.
Show's over.
Hey, Kevin, have you been able to do 18 anytime recently?
No, I'm just playing 9 right now. I'm slowly working my way back in.
All that white he got on looking like a Q-tip squad.
Oh, okay. All right. So Kevin, you know Bobby claims him and Doug play a little bit of golf, but that's what they say.
They call me the Rhino.
Keyword a little bit.
They call me the Rhino. You heard of Tiger? They call me Rhino, the Rhino.
Okay, guys.
For good reason.
Let's get to the show. We got a lot of things to cover. I'll be going back and forth. I'm not good on going in order. But first of all, of course, we have to – not of course, but I would like to start off with a little bit of NFL. Maybe we'll very often. I'm sure we'll end with the NFL as well because that's what's really happening right now. So, Charles Jackson, are you excited for the season this year?
Most definitely. I can't wait for football to start. The air is getting crisp. The time is right. I'm ready for some football.
Okay. Also, this year we're going to be picking 5. Not this week. Yeah, maybe this week. Yeah, this week we're going to be picking 5 top games, the most competitive games each week, and I will send a pool to the panelists. They'll send it in. We will keep record, and each week we will discuss the records of all the predictions. So everyone will see that I really am the sports doctor. Okay, Kevin, who are you predicting to come out of who do you predict to go to the Super Bowl? I know the season hasn't even started, but from what your intel tells you, who would you think is going to be in the Super Bowl this year?
Well, I have 4 contenders. My top 10, in no particular order, would be the Chiefs, the Buccaneers, Buffalo, and Green Bay. Those are my 4 leading contenders being a Super Bowl hunt.
All right. Sounds good. David, who are your 4 contenders? You don't have to take it down to 4. Who are your main contenders?
I've got to believe that Tampa Bay has to be considered again, but it's hard for a Super Bowl winner to repeat. Kansas City got there, but they lost and lost soundly. But Kansas City is in there, Buffalo's in there, but I think New England should not be overlooked. And that's in AFC. Mm-hmm. NFC, you know who my favorite team in the NFC is, the Seattle Seahawks, and I think they're going to be very good this year. Okay. So I'm going to tell you who I'd like to see. Seattle versus Kansas City. That's what I would like.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
it probably won't happen.
You'll get your turn in a minute, Bob.
Robert,
Okay.
Robert, calm down.
I'm excited, David.
Judge Snowden, who do you like? Who are your predictions?
I like Kansas City Chiefs. I like the Buffalo Bills, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Washington football team.
Okay, so like I said, we got a lot to cover, so we're not going to dwell on the crazy remarks tonight. Okay, Charles.
The best defensive line in football.
Yeah. Charles, who are your contenders?
Well, I like Kevin's teams, but I just have to say, if Brady can last a full year again, I just don't know if he can go, 17 games and take them. So I'm going to go with Kevin's team, but I'm going to put Seattle in there as the final four. So I'll go Buffalo, Kansas City, and I'm going to say Kansas City, Buffalo, and if the GOAT can go all the way, I'm gonna go with Tampa, but you can't take Seattle out of it.
Okay, before we get back to Bobby, Charles Snowden, before I cut you off rudely, I apologize. But did you say that the Washington football team had the best defensive line
in football?
Is that the same line that played last year that nobody touched Brady the whole playoff game? Yeah. Is that the same line we thought?
That's the same team that played Tampa Bay as tough as anybody did.
That's exactly correct.
In the entire playoff.
True.
That's the same team. Correct.
Did they lay a hand on him, the best defensive line?
Well, they played them well. That's all. I just leave it at that.
Wow. They did. Bobby, who are your contenders for the NFL this year? For Super Bowl?
Well, first of all, you need to stop hating on the Washington football team. We take that personally.
Thank you, Bobby.
I told you we don't have.
I know. We know how you feel.
You can't waste no time on these no. They don't even have a football team. That tells you how they are.
Well, they definitely don't have a quarterback. But anyway, Earl, I'm sorry, Charles P. Jackson. They keep always saying that about Brady. Right? They keep saying, "Oh, I don't think he can make it this man," and he defies. I'm picking Tampa Bay, Kansas City, but I got a big suspicion, man. I'm telling you, I'm watching Cleveland. Believe it or not.
Not bad. Not bad. That's a good observation.
Okay. All right. So I have a question. I don't like to ask a question when I have the answer. The question is, who are we to question Bill Belichick, one of the greatest coaches, if not the best football coach in the world? The answer is we are the real fellas, and we question whoever we want. So, Bob Kinzer, what are your thoughts about how the situation with Cam Newton was handled?
Well, I think it was handled probably right, because you can't have your quarterback, the starting person, possibly being out because of the protocol. Now, I don't know if you know this. I mean, everybody has but the NFL has the highest vax rate. It's like, 90-something percent, 93% of the players are vaccinated, 99% of the staffs are vaccinated. And you just can't take that chance of your quarterback going down like 5 days or maybe 10. That can change everything. So I think that played major in the decision on Cam Newton and not being there. And then this whole riding Matt Jones, God damn, they on this guy's jock, man. But he's good. I can't deny that. But that's my response to that, Earl. I think, and then don't forget about Cam Newton. I mean, he had this, I don't know if it's true, but he had this aura that he was uncontrollable and he would do, I think all of that stuff came back to haunt him. And then it didn't help that he was out 5 days and Matt Jones had actually 500 extra reps and he rolled in practice. That couldn't help.
Okay. All right, Bobby, it seems like I always pick on you. We always fight. But we got to kind of keep our responses a little shorter because we got
a lot of
you talking like a minute and a half. I mean, I don't want to handcuff you, but I don't want you to go on no soliloquy.
So can you tell me now so I know going forward, what is the limit?
We haven't
done that. Put a flashing light, Bobby.
Yeah, I'll give you a flashing light. Read between the lines. Flash that.
David, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts about the decision that Bill Belichick, the Hall of Famer, made about Cam Newton?
I think the decision was made last year. The reality is Cam Newton came to New England making $500,000 a year last year. He signed this year with only a $3 million guarantee. And it's, to the average person, that's big, big, big money. Certainly it is to me. But to a professional football quarterback, a starting quarterback, the moment you get that kind of money, it's considered chump change. You're expendable. He was expendable. Basically, he cut himself. He basically cut himself based on his behavior, based on the way New England actually perceived him. And he's an inaccurate passer. So he's not a starting quarterback anymore. So I think that was the end of it. Now, will he play in the National Football League again? Sure. But he'll play as a backup if he's willing to do that.
Wow. Chuck Snowden, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the COVID thing is the number one reason why he's not there, period. If he would have taken the shot, I'm making the assumption that he has not taken the vaccination. And I think that is what killed him. I mean, the game before he got released, he was 11 for 12. He looked really, really good. I still don't think he can throw that thing downfield. I don't think it was his behavior. I don't think it was all that other stuff. And I think that the media puts that stuff out there so people like us can eat it up. I don't think there was a problem.
You don't think you get no hate mail? You don't think you get no hate mail from the redneck dogs talking about get rid of that?
No.
Okay,
no.
all right.
I just
you know how New England is. You know how it is.
I think the COVID thing was an issue. However, the Minnesota quarterback and the Ravens quarterback got the same problem, right? They haven't. I don't think they've taken the shot
And the Colts quarterback.
It's a bunch of quarterbacks for some reason. You all, I don't understand it.
Well, stay tuned.
They all hang out together. Charles, what do you, Charles Jackson? Your thoughts on the decision by Belichick?
Well, I think Belichick is really trying to make an excuse. I think anytime you're going to leave Brian Hoyer as your backup quarterback, that is a mistake right there. So Cam could have been the backup quarterback. I think the Belichick is just laying stones for like next year when Matt Jones is really going to have a better year. But to keep Brian Hoyer over Cam Newton, if Tom Brady would have been in that position and he would not have had his shot, he still would be on the roster.
Hey Charles, they cut both of them. They cut Hoyer and Cam.
Brian Hoyer is going also?
Yeah.
So who's the second quarterback?
Unless they re-signed him to the practice squad.
No. I think he's still with the team, but who's their backup quarterback after Matt Jones?
I don't know.
Again, if it's Cam Newton is better than any backup quarterback on New England's roster. So I still think he should have been there. Starting, maybe not. His time has passed. But again, Brian Hoyer.
Kevin Everson, what do you think about me daring to second guess Bill Belichick?
Well, that's what the media is for. That's what we do. But you guys are dancing around, not paying attention. This situation with Cam Newton is definitely COVID related. It's based on availability, but it's also Bill Belichick's way of doing things. This scenario was the exact same thing as when he subbed out Bledsoe for Brady. He's got a young guy. He's already said he's our future. That's what Bill Belichick said. He's our future. We're gonna go with him. Yeah. But the thing you don't understand is you kind of touched on it, that they have no second and third backup quarterback. Don't be surprised to see Cam Newton back in New England as backup, because Mac Jones he's not gonna have. Mac Jones is not. He's gonna struggle. I guarantee you. He's gonna struggle. I'm telling you. You're gonna see another Tua type performance out of Mac Jones. People are pumping him up and all this stuff. Blah 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 blah. Dude is gonna struggle. And Belichick has said quite candidly, he speaks very highly of Cam Newton. And the fact that Cam knows the offense, no other quarterback knows. Their backups, Hoyer, you say is cut, journeyman, Stidham, can't play. Come on.
Right.
Well, I think
David made a point too. He said Cam's not a non-starter. What you got, Jalen Hurts, Fitzpatrick, and Dalton start? Come on.
Cam is not better than those guys.
He's way better than all three of those
hold on. Cam's performance over the last several years has been putrid at best.
What has Fitzpatrick and Dalton did?
First of all, his passing percentage is one of the lowest in the league, and it has been for his whole career. His career passing average is less than 60%. These days, a successful quarterback must be significantly over 60%. He can't throw. Now he's hurt in several different places on his body. And I think New England told us a long time ago they didn't really value him. If they valued him, he would have got a $15 to $20 million backup level contract. He got a $3 million gift contract.
He'll be back in New England. I'm going to bet on that.
No, he won't.
Bet on that.
I want dinner, Kevin, and I'm coming down to Atlanta, and we're going to Magic City.
Hey, Dave, I want to get some of that dinner too.
And we're going to Magic City too.
Bobby,
all right,
you can come. You don't get it.
They go to Magic City to get some wings.
We'll get some wings.
Okay, guys. Let's move on. The NFL get ready to stop. We still have a whole lot to cover, but like I said, I'm going to be a little bit all over the place. Let's jump from the NFL just for a moment. I will get back to it. I need David, Charles Snowden, or Kevin, someone to explain to me what is going on with these alliances. The first alliance I'm talking about is Oklahoma and Texas joining the SEC, and the second alliance I am referring to is the Big Ten, the
ACC,
the ACC in the Pac-12. I'll start with you, David, because you'll probably give me some reasonable answer. I'm afraid what Bobby might say, but we'll get to Bobby as well. David,
I think major college football is consolidating, and they're really, even though technically the so-called Power Five plus Notre Dame and a couple of other independent teams make up the so-called Power Five. That's 65, 66 teams. I think in the end, you're going to see about, competitive teams. There's only really about 35, 40 competitive teams, period, anyway, in college football. It's a consolidation. The Big Ten has the most money in their television package. And it's also about TV money and making sure that you get all the cash you can get. Oklahoma and Texas are great additions to the SEC. But the Big Ten, which has the #1 TV contract, Pac-12, and the ACC, that's a great consolidation. I think it's good.
Okay. Bobby and the rest of the panelists, can we agree with David said makes sense and save some time? And should I stop asking silly questions and just think, what do I think these alliances about? These alliances about the money. Is it about anything else?
It's all about the money. But the SEC is putting pressure on them because the SEC is a serious conference. And you look at the ACC and the Pac-12, the Big Ten might could make it without them. But the ACC struggling, even in basketball. The Pac-12, same thing. So they like I said, it's consolidation, it's about money, but they're trying to go up against the SEC because SEC is the ticket that you want to go. That's the ticket.
But does the Big Ten make the most money, David?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, they do.
The Big Ten could possibly make it on their own, but it's the Pac-12 and ACC have been struggling.
But what does the SEC want with Texas and Oklahoma?
They want as many good teams as possible. That's what they want. And
once again, that's big money, Dave.
And Texas, aside, they don't have the same kind of TV contract, but Texas's endowment, I think, is the #1 endowment in the country. Oklahoma, historically great football college for many years. So it's an addition. It's a real jewel for the SEC to get those two teams.
And it fits geographically.
I'm saying Texas and Oklahoma got to be careful what they're asking for because they're not going to be able to compete. They're just not. They can't recruit. They can't recruit in the Southeast Conference like Alabama can. They're going to be at best third, fourth team in the league. Now, I'm an Oklahoma fan. I've been an Oklahoma fan since the days of Billy Sims.
Billy Sims. Greg Pruitt.
It's all about the money. I mean, ESPN is going to give a $3 billion contract to this new SEC. So they're getting ready to outpace the Big Ten. They're going to be the highest paid in 2024.
But keep in mind, you're splitting the money to more teams.
Right.
So it still comes down to how much money does each school get.
Well,
and right now, I think the Big Ten, every school in the Big Ten is getting about $35-40 million a year.
Well, Oklahoma gets 34 right now. Their take going to the big SEC is going to be 60 million. So
we'll see. But the Big Ten money will go up too. Everybody's money
going to go up.
The
problem is the mid majors are going to be the ones. Those second tier teams, they're going to be the ones that suffer out of this deal.
Absolutely. They've been suffering anyway. They don't get any of the money in the first place.
It's going to be even worse now. How about that? It's going to be even worse.
Okay. All right.
But they're still going to play the game, and football is back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Football is back. Money's still going to be made. It won't be a lot, but football is back, and games are going to be played.
Did anyone see the Clemson game the other day? Did they score a touchdown?
No.
What is going on, Chuck?
But Georgia didn't score an offensive touchdown either. There were defenses played in that game, big time.
I think ever since Charles Snowden's son left, the ACC has gone down. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, they had no problem scoring last year when little Chuck played.
All right, don't.
They had that Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, right. Stop biting. Hey.
And they didn't have a run. They didn't have a running back. The running back didn't do it. Look, I heard this stat about Georgia the other day. Think about this. UVA, for example, which I know well, they have 0 5-star players on their team. 0. Georgia has 19 5-star players, and most of them on defense.
Well, you know what? Who's the one that awards the stars? See, that's all I can say. Because oftentimes the so-called 5-star players go to certain camps. They're courted by certain people, media. They have social media on their side. Back in the mid 70s, how many stars was awarded to Walter Payton? In the mid 80s, how many stars were awarded to Jerry Rice? Those are two of the greatest players of all time, and they had probably no stars.
Well, those are called exceptions, David.
Exceptions.
If you think LSU and Alabama and Clemson and Georgia are not getting 5 stars, and you want to challenge the grading of those players, go ahead, but I don't think you would win that argument.
But Chuck just made a point. The same thing we're talking about this super conference. That's what's going to happen. All the great players are going to gravitate towards these super conferences. And that's shameful. It's shameful.
And so you talk about the mid levels that's going to suffer, Kevin. Guess who's going to suffer even more? And I'll talk about that later.
The HBCUs.
Big time, man.
Well, what is Deion trying to do? What is Deion trying to do? What's he talking about?
Well, I think it's fair to take a look at the number of former top athletes from the NFL who are now coaching at HBCU colleges. The number's growing. You got a former NFL star at Morgan State. You've got Deion at Jackson State.
Eddie
George at Tennessee State.
Sure.
You just don't know. And also the red herring in all of this is name, image, and likeness. That means you've got the quarterback, the starting quarterback for University of Alabama. It has got a package over $1 million a year. That's also something we've got to factor in. No matter what we talk about these conferences, players are now concerned about making sure they've got their social media all lined up and their images set so that they can profit. Sometimes their minds may be making the name, image, and likeness than on the football field.
So I was going to save this until the end, but this is a perfect segue, y'all, because this is affecting the lower schools and especially HBCUs. Not one black player from an HBCU was drafted in the NFL, and this is a part of what we're talking about. Not one. You want to tell me there's not one time, but this is a part of what we're talking about that is affecting that.
Bobby, UVA didn't have a player drafted. I mean, UVA didn't have a player drafted.
No, I'm talking about the whole HBCU. We ain't talking about one school.
Well, Bobby, I think one thing you got to think about, COVID hit HBCUs harder than everybody else. They shut down their season. They didn't even play.
Kevin, hold on. Kevin, the guys played before that. They signed the boy. They signed a bunch of guys, free agency, right after they didn't draft them. The guy from Grambling State is the top NFL player. They waited. They signed him for $15,000 guaranteed money and $110,000 contract. So
what you saying is a conspiracy. What you're trying to say is a conspiracy.
I'm not saying conspiracy. I'm just trying to
say that's what you just said. You said
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I just put it out there.
Like he wasn't worthy of being an HBCU student. HBCU suffered last year. They suffered bad in COVID, man.
You tell me there's not one player on the whole HBCU, one kind of, that's that stuff they put out there, like you said, Kevin. You would tell me there's not one player that is not worthy of being drafted in the NFL?
I never said that. What I said was they suffered from exposure, lack of exposure, because of COVID, Bobby.
You know what I say about that?
Scouts weren't traveling.
You know what I say about that, Kevin? Sure, just one statement about that sums that all up. Cut that damn foolishness.
Jackson State didn't even play until the spring, Bobby. They didn't have a season last year.
David, can you?
They didn't have a season.
Can y'all chime into this? Am I crazy?
Chime in, and you may not like what I'm going to say, Bobby.
Well, what I'm going to say,
9 times out of 10, I'm not.
Let me chime in first before David.
Go ahead, Earl.
I don't know whether Bobby's saying it's conspiracy or not, but what are the odds of not one HBCU player being not one?
The odds are not that surprising because mid-majors don't get very many players picked. And what Kevin said in terms of HBCUs holding off their season until the spring hurt a lot of players. And players who did want to go to the NFL didn't play at all last season. Not at all. That makes a difference. So they're not going to take a risk. First of all, the NFL is not stupid. If you can play, you're going to be picked. What the HBCUs are doing or should be doing is working on enhancing their profile. I think it helps that you've got a number of former great college NFL players who are now coaches in HBCU colleges. That makes a difference. Bobby?
He got the show, David. You want to hear what you had to say?
Not one got. Come on, David. You sound like these daggone pundits, man. Not one. David, they signed several players immediately after the draft was over.
Of course they did, Bobby. Of course they did. How many players from the University of Alabama got drafted?
We're not talking about the University of Alabama. We're talking about HBCUs.
It makes a difference.
That's bullshit,
if you got 10 or 12, well, hold on, Bobby. Everything is not race-based because
you sound like Joe Biden in the
most of the players who get drafted, hold it. Most of the players who get drafted in the NFL are black and have been for years. So let's not break this down on a racial basis. What HBCUs need to do is enhance their profile. Period.
Are you kidding me?
Back in the day, when HBCUs were more prominent, a bunch of HBCU players did get drafted. So that was way back in the day.
David, okay, guys. One quick point, Earl. David.
Yes, sir.
On a Saturday afternoon, if I didn't look in the stands, right? If I just didn't look at the stands, and I was watching Alabama play Tennessee, I could have swore it was the HBCU teams playing each other.
Well, let me say this. If Alabama played Tennessee State, if Alabama played Jackson State, the score is going to be 72-10.
You missed my point, David. You missed my point. Go ahead, Earl. Go ahead, Earl. I'm sorry.
I will say, Bobby, it's not a good look. But I don't think it was conspiracy. I think COVID had a lot to do with these guys not getting. I don't think it's not a good look.
That's true. Slavery wasn't conspiracy either. Slavery
maybe the black players in the bigger leagues are just better than the players in the HBCU. I don't know.
And right now they are.
If you can play, you're going to get drafted.
Period. Thank you.
Well, Deion says he has 3 first rounders in his team.
Where do you live? In some kind of Martian planet?
So are you saying that the players are that much better, and that's why they're not like getting drafted? Because that's got to be the only reason why. I don't think these scouts are ignoring the HBCU schools.
Hey, Charles, stop that damn foolishness. This is what I'm saying. I'm saying that these NFL are getting these black players on the cheap, and they doing them in because they signed Chuck. They signed these boys right immediately to a free agent contract when they could have drafted, but they know they have HBCUs. They give this excuse, the COVID, and we know that mostly all the black schools. Let me finish. We know the majority of the black schools shut their programs down because what? Black people honor that daggone COVID stuff.
I think we ought to hear from Chuck, because Chuck has a more intimate understanding of the money and what's going on than any of us do.
Man, Chuck was on the sidelines of the Chicago Bears. He's part of the damn industry.
Okay, viewers, I apologize for not doing my job. My job is to moderate and keep this show moving. We spent too much time on this subject. I apologize. Let's move on.
Hey, Earl, I want to make one comment, though, about college football. It was back last weekend, and I tell you something, man, just to see the fans back in the stands and the traditions. And I mean, for example, that Notre Dame Florida State game, they were trying to, Bobby Bowden had passed. I just thought that was a heck of a football game. And it was exciting. And as much as I don't like Virginia Tech, the crowd, when they panned to the crowd while the Virginia Tech team was coming into the stadium, it gave me chills. And that Georgia Clemson game, it wasn't a lot of scoring, but man, they were banging. And so it was great for me as a college football fan and all the pageantry to see college football back and people back in the stands. I'm a little concerned about no mask. I didn't see any masks in those stadiums.
Right.
But it was good to have the traditions back.
Read what your brother just said, Chuck. Read what your brother just said.
No, his brother said 18 HBCU players did make an initial NFL 53-man roster. We're not talking about who made the team. The question was, why weren't they drafted?
You missed.
Well, wait a minute. Let's just, on that one point,
rookies,
Bobby,
18
and understand
HBCU
this,
rookies?
and Chuck understands this well too. Just because you were not drafted, once you make an NFL roster, the minimum amount of money that you can make goes up substantially. It's over $500,000 per player. So just because they came in on the cheap, as you say, if they make the roster, that money must go up from 100,000 to 500 or 600,000 or more.
But it's not the same if you drafted, David. Am I correct?
The only thing's different is the signing bonuses. They get if you're drafted, you get
that's a big difference. The guy signed for 15,000.
Guys. It's very interesting content. We got to move on. I'm trying to talk about the NFL. I'm not trying to talk about the HBCU.
It was the NFL. We were talking about the NFL.
Well, I ain't trying to talk about this subject.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Moderator.
No, I mean we spent too much time. The NFL is starting. We only got a few minutes, and we talking about.
Run the show, Earl. Go ahead.
You're right, Bobby. It is part of the NFL, so I'm tripping as well. I just think we just need to move on to another subject. That's all.
Yes, Mr. Moderator.
I wonder if those rookies. I wonder if my brother's right. Are that 18 HBCU rookies that made the 53-man roster? I'd like to get that edited.
I read your lips.
Okay.
Earl, what's next, Earl?
All right.
Don't do it.
So the
Thursday
night game starts off with Tampa the Cowboys, and already everyone's making an excuse talking about their top offensive lineman is hurt. Does that make so much of a difference, or what? I'm going to start with you, Charles Jackson.
It did in Kansas City last year.
Does that make a difference in the game that's coming up this week? That much of a difference this week?
I think that's going to make a difference. How much you really can't say.
You talking about Zach Martin?
Pardon me? Yeah, Zach Martin. Yeah.
Overrated.
Yeah.
That team is so overrated.
It hurt Kansas City in the playoff in Super Bowl last year. Not having your offensive lineman there.
It's not a good analogy. They had 3 injuries and they had 4 different players playing 4 different positions that they weren't used to playing. This is just one player this week. I know he's a good tackle. I'm just asking you. You answered the question. You say you think it makes a difference, so we can move on. Bobby, do you think the offensive lineman from the Cowboys is going to affect their performance this week?
Yes.
Charles?
Very succinct.
Charles Snowden?
I think Dallas is the most overrated program. Every year we talk about Dallas. I'm so sick of them, and I don't care. They're gonna get beat. Bottom line, and they're not gonna win the NFC East. Period. They stink. They stink, and the Eagles stink.
Kevin Everson, do you think the fact that Zach Martin's not playing tomorrow will affect the game between Tampa Bay and the Cowboys? Do you think that injury?
That game was already there. They should have crossed that game off where you started. They ain't gonna be close. Smoke the Cowboys. Watch.
David Burnett, can you give me an intelligent answer?
Let me give you an intelligent answer, and I don't want to be interrupted.
Don't ask too much.
Any given Sunday, any given Thursday, any team in the NFL can beat another team, period. And let me move on from there.
Hey, the Cowboys want hard knocks. Hey, the Cowboys want hard knocks. They're going to get some hard knocks tomorrow. Watch. They're going to get
Thank you, Bobby.
My man.
For real, Dave. That's true.
Okay. All right. So, not that anyone really cares, but can anyone tell me why Aaron Rodgers decided to appear in camp besides money? Can they give me another reason besides money?
$35 million. That's enough. That's enough of a reason.
Kevin?
Aaron Rodgers is living his life, man. He's doing what he wants. Y'all talking about him all the time. He's living what he wants. He's dating movie stars. He's hanging out with rock bands. He's living his life, man. Y'all are tripping.
All right. David Burnett, what do you think? Why he came back besides the money?
He came back because he's Aaron Rodgers. He's one of the top quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. And the only time we give a damn about Aaron Rodgers is when he's on the football field. Once he is no longer playing, there will be somebody replacing him, period.
Exactly.
Bobby?
Well, you know what I say about it, Earl, especially about Aaron Rodgers.
The money, okay.
Stop that damn foolishness.
Okay.
That's a heck of a quote. That's a heck of a quote, Bobby.
What is the true name? Tell Aaron, stop all that foolishness.
You need to retire that quote.
Okay. All right.
It's a tough crowd, baby. It's a tough crowd.
Let's move on. Okay. So, has anyone? Let's flip over to the U.S. Open. Whoever's been watching it or has anything they want to add to it. Charles Snowden, have you been watching it at all?
I haven't watched all of it, and I hadn't watched the men at all. But man, have I been. I love this little Layla Fernandez. She's a little 19-year-old Canadian. I think her mother is Filipino. Her dad is Ecuadorian.
Yeah.
And she's a left-hander. And I don't know if she was ranked in the top 100 at the beginning of the Open. But
66.
She was 60. She was ranked that high?
She might be 121. And Rudakana might be 20. I think she was 121. You're right.
She beat Naomi, she beat Gerber, and she beat Sabalenka, or whatever her name was, last night. And all of these people have won majors and so forth. And she's just a darling, and she's exciting, and she gets the New York fans are behind her. She's in the semis. I think she plays tomorrow, and I am all the way in. I'm rooting for Layla Fernandez.
Okay, Chuck, if you can't pronounce the person's name, then don't Don't bring it up. Don't dog that. Whatever.
Yeah, that's one of our rules.
That's not professional. That's not professional, Chuck. Whatever her name is.
I'm sorry.
You know, that's why I never say the best player for the Milwaukee team. I don't want to tear his name up. I'll
say it for you.
Don't do it. Don't.
Anticatutupo.
Okay.
And you messed up again.
David, what are your thoughts on the U.S. Open?
My only concern about the U.S. Open this year is Novak Djokovic becoming the first male player to win the Grand Slam in 60 years.
Okay.
And I think it would be very significant, and he will have won his 21st slam. He'll be the number one male tennis player of all time.
Okay. All right.
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with Chuck with Leylah Fernandez, but I got a new girl I'm rolling with is Raducanu. Emma Raducanu. She's from Great Britain. She just advanced to the semifinals as well. She was ranked 66.
Okay.
And this is her first time. She's the first player one of the first to make the semifinals in her first action at the U.S. Open.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of big upsets. I'm hoping that Raducanu can face Leylah tomorrow. In the Saturday in the finals, it would be a great thing. It's a great time for women's tennis right now. I know I dog the WNBA like it's nothing because I'm just a male chauvinist pig. But I like the women's tennis. I like what's going on in women's tennis right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't assume. I don't think that Kevin and Charles follow U.S. Open. I don't know, but if you guys do, you can chime in.
Well, I generally don't watch it to the semifinals because it's just too many matches. But because of Fernandez, I really she energized me to watch. She's exciting. She's young. She's fresh. Her timing is perfect. With Serena peeling back, I think her and Naomi are going to be well. If she can continue, I mean, being a left-hander, that gives her a tremendous advantage in the sport. Left-handers are just like hard to beat in tennis. They just really. And I think her and Osaka will be must-watch tennis for the next few years coming.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Earl, I think one thing that did come out of the Open was commercials that Will Smith is playing Venus and Serena's dad. I kind of can't wait till that. I kind of can't wait till that movie comes out. That movie looks like it should be. Yeah. I think that movie.
Is this
Charles? Mike Snowden, Charles' brother, don't like you second guessing him or questioning him, so he has put the link on the page so you guys can click it and check out his story and find out all the little questions you guys got.
Hey,
thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, Mike.
Excuse me, Earl. Do I get to comment on the U.S. Open?
Yeah. Yes, Bobby, you do.
No, I'm sensing some bias on the show because David challenges the names I say, and you said the girl's British name, Raducanu, which is not the right pronunciation. And then you were going to overlook me.
Okay, well, what is the right pronunciation, Bobby? What is the right pronunciation?
I'm just going to back to Joker, and that's it.
What is the correct pronunciation? Yeah. This is our thought. Who?
Can we move on?
We must. We must.
Yeah. We can move on. Okay. So we're getting ready also for the baseball playoffs.
Yes.
Who do you guys think is coming out of the American League and the National League? I'll start with you, Charles Jackson.
Well, you know, I'm a Yankee fan. I'm going to go with the Dodgers, too. So those are two teams that I'm pulling for.
Charles Snowden.
I agree with you, Charles Jackson. I like those two teams as well. The Dodgers, I got to tell you, the payroll, I mean, this guy Scherzer and Turner, they've added those guys to this team at the trade deadline. And Scherzer might win the Cy Young Award. I mean,
no, he's still playing great. Yeah.
He's been unhittable since he's joined the Dodgers, and so I think the Dodgers are doing well. And I don't know about the Yankees because they lost their ace yesterday a little bit, but the Dodgers.
All right, let's not leave out Bobby Kinzer because he is a well-rounded, all-around sports fan. Bobby, coming out of the NFL, the National League and the American League.
Taking Tampa Bay, and the team that has the best record in the whole league that people sleeping on. Do y'all know who that is?
Who's that?
San Francisco.
Okay.
They're not talking about them enough. They rolling.
They're the reason why they're not talking about them, Bobby. But anyway, David, who do you like coming out of the National League and the American League?
I would say San Francisco. I would agree with Bobby. Because San Francisco. Well, no, it's not. Bobby, a lot of things you say are correct. You just space them apart.
Very far.
Too far.
Cut out the jokes.
All right.
And in the American League, probably the Yankees.
Okay, Kevin, who you like?
I'm gonna take a different take on it. I'm gonna say in the American League, Tampa's favored, but they're the only team in the American League that's over 600. Everybody is like nip and tuck. Everybody is so tight.
Yep.
This might be one of the best baseball season finishes in the American League we ever had.
Yes.
If I go with the National League, the Giants and Dodgers. It's going to boil down to who gets the breaks. I mean, they're right beside each other. And if you look at the Braves and Philly, last series of the season, they play each other in Atlanta.
Seems kind of funny that everyone's talking about the Giants and the Dodgers when I had to spend 20 minutes last in the production meeting explaining to Chuck about some Padres and Dodgers are a rivalry. The Dodgers have been wiping the map with Padres.
You're right. I did think the Padres were going to have a better year than they've turned out to be. Injuries and their pitching. But my favorite player is still Tatis.
And you knew I wasn't going to forget that too, didn't you? You knew I wasn't.
No, I didn't.
He's exciting.
I won't hesitate to point out when someone's wrong and when I'm right. I'll do that in a minute. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, gentlemen. Okay, I like the timing on the show. We're gonna end the show right now with any closing remarks.
How can I help?
You can't help me, baby. How can does anyone have any closing remarks to end the show? Bobby, I'll start with you. First of all, Bobby, I don't want to hear about any jockeys on anybody's lawn. But other than that, what's going on?
Hater. I just want to talk about because I do a financial show. A lot of the NFL players that end up broke after about I think 67 to 70% of NFL players after about 3 to 5 years they end up broke. And just recently, Clinton Portis, who played with the Washington Redskins, he just got indicted.
Who's that, Bobby?
Washington football.
The running back.
No, who's the Washington Redskins?
Washington football.
No, that's who he played for when they were that. The Washington Redskins. And it just goes to show you, man, that these guys really need help. And I feel sad that they had to go through that because they were broke and they went to this medical fraud scheme, which is actually defrauded the Gene Upshaw rehabilitation plan. And it's just sad that these players get in that position after making all this kind of money. And I think a lot of it is blamed on the management. And so a lot of times they come down on the players. But that's just my final remarks is that I wish these players would get better, make better financial choices because it affects them and their families tremendously. And they make a lot of money.
Yeah. If I knew you were going to do that, Bobby, I would have had the link to your show on there so some people could check it out.
The Fit Show.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. Kevin Edmondson, do you have any?
Yeah, I just want to tip my hat to Patrick Kenway. who just won the FedEx Cup. He played the last month of the season. He played some most outstanding golf. He fought off a bunch of tigers. I don't mean Tiger Woods, but a bunch of people nipping at his heels, and he just played fantastically.
Okay.
So my hats off to him, and he's got a fine girlfriend. Lord have mercy.
Hey, Kevin, have you ever been to a Georgia Bulldog game?
No, I've been to the stadium, never a game though.
I'd be afraid down there with all them rednecks down there drinking beer and stuff. Okay.
Acting crazy.
All right,
no, Athens isn't like that. Now, outside of Athens, you might find that, but Athens isn't.
Right. David, do you have any closing remarks?
I do. Just very, very briefly, I want to send a shout out to Simone Biles. She's been vilified by a number of media people and others for quitting. But the reality is she's the greatest female gymnast of all time. And there's not even a contest as to who's second. The fact is she didn't have any mental illness. I think she kind of misframed that. But she did have what's called the twisties. And if you have the twisties in gymnastics, you can kill yourself. You're floating in the air, twisting around. And if you don't know where you are in the air and how to land or where you're going to land, you can die. Mm-hmm. So she decided that she would step back. I would say to Simone Biles, who did get a bronze medal in one of the events, keep on keeping on, Simone, because you're the best.
Okay. Charles Jackson, do you have a closing remark?
Derek Sanderson Jeter making the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite players.
All right. Charles Snowden, we're going to end the show with you. What do you have to say?
I don't really have a closing remark, but I want to piggyback on what David just said. And I just want to shout out the Jamaican women's track team, because those ladies, they just amaze me. And every year or every 4 years, the last 12 years, they've really showed out. And so shout out to the Jamaican women's track program.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, gentlemen, I'm glad to see you guys again. It was a great show. Next week, it's going to be crazy. We have Stacey Robinson and Delonte Taylor. You may know him as Peanut. Kevin used to be his coach before he really knew how to play. And
I didn't know that. No wonder his game got jacked.
No, that's why his game was good, because Kevin used to take him to the side and say, Look for the open man. Use your right hand. I know you're left-handed, Peanut, but use your right hand. Now, Kevin was a good coach. I remember when Kevin used to go over there and coach them. And JoJo Hunter may possibly show as well.
This is history in the making.
And we will have David, Burnett, Kevin Emerson, and Bobby will be dealing with that circus next week. So hopefully
against those guys.
Hopefully you got. Yeah, and maybe one of them dunked on you like David would have dunked on you. I don't know.
Remember the other shows? I told you, nobody dunks on Bobby Kinzer. That's been my whole history, dude. I was doing this before Matumbo.
Okay.
Nobody.
Oh, my God.
Nobody in my whole career.
You know what? First of all, Matumbo got commercials.
So do I. Hold up, David. So do I.
Yeah, Bobby.
40 years ago.
He got commercials giving a little kid candy over in Europe. Yeah.
No.
We're gonna ask Stacey and Peanut about some stories about you next week. We'll see what they say about you.
Good. They can vouch for me.
Yeah, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I'm glad you guys decided to come back. Charles, I'm sorry about the Knicks, but anyway, thank you guys for coming. We'll be back next week. Appreciate it.
All right.
Good job, Earl. Good job.
Great job, Earl.
Good job.